Welcome back for the second stint of Inside Grand Prix. Coming up, do you still remember this legendary duel? First, circuit knowledge from last year's winner.
Patience. Control. Strength. Confidence is everything. This is my circuit, this is my lap. Find the flow to get it right. Konnichiwa, Suzuka in Japan, let's get started. Tokyo is one of my favorite cities in the world. Really enjoy the food, sushi. I have that pretty much every day, so Japanese is definitely my favorite food. The fans are very, very enthusiastic in Japan. One of the greatest tracks, if not the greatest track in the world. It's great for overtaking.
All the way down to turn one. You're flat out through the first part, which is incredibly fast, and then you're braking a little bit, and down to third gear generally, might be fourth this year. I'm using all the road, clipping the apex, turn 3, then into 4, and 5, just kind of running quite wide out of 5 and then hugging the apex of turn 6. Really important to get back to the right side before you go into turn 7 and hook the car up and flat out up the hill. Really important to get to full throttle as quick as possible.
I think it's 8 and 9 where you kind of break in through a right-hander and then into another right-hander. So this is really a track that confidence is everything.
The grip is so low through this corner because it's such a high downforce circuit. The car is set up for the high speed. You come out of that hairpin, really important to get a good exit, and you're flat out all the way down to, I believe it's turn 12 and 13. It's very fast on the way in, and then it's just about keeping the minimum speed up all the way and also getting to full throttle real quick, using every inch of the circuit out of the last corner. The great thing is you've got great sand traps here and grass. It's probably one of the best tracks in the world. And that's the lap of Suzuka.
I'm looking forward to getting out there. I've got great fans from across the world, so I look forward to seeing many of you out there.
And here are the latest standings after Singapore. In the drivers' table, Sebastian Vettel's chasing down Nico Rosberg. With 6 races to go, anything's still possible. In the constructors' standings, Mercedes still appear uncatchable. Ferrari and Williams behind them. After gaining a 3rd point, Daniel Ricciardo draws level with Nico Rosberg in the standings for fastest lap. Now, with great dedication and love for Formula One, youngsters on a quest. F1 in Schools is the next-generation development project of elite motorsport. In 1999, businessman Andrew Denford launched the international competition, which can be described like this.
It's like taking the whole world of Formula One and just shrinking it down into the classroom. So if you look at a Formula One team that might have 600 people employed, you've got 6 in a Formula One team.
Participating each year, 20,000 schools and almost 1 million young people from 44 countries. School kids aged 11 to 19 can take part. The task is to produce a 20-centimeter long miniature Formula One car. First, of course, to design and develop it with wind tunnel tests and all the rest, and then ultimately to have a fully assembled car and to present it on a competition day, when there's a race on a track that's 20 meters long. Our miniature racing cars zoom along there at speeds of up to 120 kilometers per hour. Propulsion for the little cars is a gas. Inside the chamber is a CO2 capsule. It gets cracked open at the start, the gas streams out, and thus the car then moves forward along the 20-meter track. The CO2 cars race along the track first at national level, then internationally. The great goal, the World Championship. Yes, pretty impressive. You only realize the scale when you're here and finally see it all. The great dedication that goes into it. All the young, talented people really giving it their all. Very impressive. Anya, Felix, Victoria, Maren and Dominic. Together, they're Silverform Racing. And they had their first great success at the German Championship. All the time until the result was clear in Hockenheim, I was very worked up. I was even trembling a bit. But then, when it became clear that we were German runners-up, we were just delighted, especially as it gives us the chance to have another go. And that was to be in Singapore a few days ago at the World Championship. Without top presentation and a top car, no chance. So the design has to be right and comply with the rules. Like in the real Formula One, we've naturally got a 20-page rulebook. Fundamentally, it's the same principle. I mean to extract the maximum from within the set parameters of the rules. The trick is simply never to give up, to always want to optimize things further. Not one day to say it's finished, we're there, but simply to say it can always be better. Speed, however, is not everything. The team's external presentation is also assessed, and that's precisely where Silverform Racing came unstuck. In the German Championship, we got a really bad mark for our CI, as it had too little to do with motor racing, and we needed to distinguish ourselves more from the other teams. Therefore, team meeting, subject, new design, new corporate identity. We've got a few ideas, let's put them together. On average, the project eats up a good 18 hours of work a week, in addition to school tests and stress.
School
does suffer, that's for sure, and you neglect your friends. But I've experienced so much support that for me at the moment things are actually going quite well. It's really worth it too, because ultimately you have this experience of success and can really achieve something, and it's fun. All their work, the meeting included, bears fruit. We started the season as Silverform Racing. We'll be ending it as Rev Up. With their new name, logo and outfit, it's off to the World Championships in Singapore. There, it's all about international understanding and, of course, speed. Out of 46 teams, Rev Up battle their way to fantastic 8th place. Winners and new record holders, a German-American team, Union Racing International. Now, it's getting legendary. 2 world champions, 2 different worlds. Japan stands for 2 drivers who didn't get on, Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. Suzuka, 1989. The title for Prost comes via this crash. The professor and the genius. To this day, the mother of all Formula One duels.
Losing for him was already bad, and losing against me was really the worst thing he could have, and that's why his whole motivation was to beat me.
The frosty relationship at McLaren is triggered by the 1989 San Marino Grand Prix. Prost and Senna have an agreement not to attack each other in the first corner. Due to an accident, the race has to be restarted. For Senna, the restart means no more agreement, and he overtakes Prost at turn 1.
When you're driving in a weekend, when you're competing against the watch, the feeling of expectation of getting it done and doing the best, being the best, gives me a kind of power.
Ayrton has his own rules, his own idea of justice. He doesn't just want to beat Prost, he wants to humiliate him. The frosty relationship becomes hatred. Prost thinks Senna's plotting against him in the team, and that Honda favor the Brazilian. Distrust and envy make teammates arch rivals.
Was the period in where Senna and Prost was in the same team, but not as a big friends. So they didn't like to eat together in that period.
2 egomaniacs, but room on the throne for only one. Exasperated, Prost flees to Ferrari, but the game of car boxing for advanced drivers repeats itself in Suzuka in 1990. Prost does exactly what he threatened to do. He leaves Senna no room.
Alain Prost
was a bit sneaky. Of course, you've got to be that way too, to be successful in F1. And Ayrton Senna, he had huge talent, but was not Senna and Prost later made up, but never again spoke about their double drama in Suzuka. Two unique talents in a unique duel, an inspiration for the McLaren guard of today.
When you think of the best sort of fights in this sport, in motorsport, you would go back to the 80s, I would say, with Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna driving for McLaren Honda.
McLaren Honda and Suzuka belong together like Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, probably the most merciless Formula One head-to-head of all time. Here's the news. First pole in red, then leading in controlled fashion in Singapore, and ultimately an emotional win. Sebastian Vettel strikes for the third time in his first season with Ferrari, as his friend and role model Michael Schumacher did in 1996. It was incidentally Vettel's 42nd victory, thus taking him past Ayrton Senna in the best drivers list. The championship's getting exciting again. Now he needs further success in Suzuka.
I think Suzuka is one of the best circuits in the calendar. A lot of high-speed corners, fast floating corners, where you really experience the limits of the cars and you really feel alive.
It was also a special race in Singapore for Max Verstappen. After a poor start, last. Valuable points picked up, finishing 8th, and just before the end going against team orders as well. Let teammate Sainz overtake again? No way! Team principal Toast was relaxed about it, arguing he's a racer after all. 20th of November, Olympic Stadium, London, the venue for the Race of Champions. And he's confirmed Sebastian Vettel has, surprisingly for many, been allowed by his Ferrari team to take part, even though the event this year comes just a week before the season's final F1 race in Abu Dhabi. The hardest braking point on the Suzuka International Circuit lies ahead of the Casio Triangle. The F1 drivers decelerate sharply here by 218 kilometers an hour over just 146 meters within 1.63 seconds. 1,668 kilowatts of brake power are released in the process. 4.1 G is exerted onto the driver while he pushes with 145 kilograms onto the brake. On Inside Grand Prix, it's time to say goodbye. We'll see you again for the Russian Grand Prix. But first, we hope you enjoyed the race in Suzuka.